This and That is the name of the show, and my name's Don McKenna.
And I am Michael Heelan. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone.
Michael's got a story.
I just want to tell a story real quick.
No, never mind quick. This is the one on the police officer?
Yes, sir.
Listen to this.
So this past weekend I went, I live in Falmouth, Mass now.
Yes,
People
you
might
do.
know.
No, everybody knows you're in Falmouth.
So last week, an officer from Falmouth, 30-year-old officer, was down in the Tampa Bay area. And last week, wrong-way driver on the highway was going at a good speed and heading into civilians going the correct way. The wrong-way driver was about to hit them, and this 30-year-old officer, John Cotfilla, more or less cut him off and was hit head-on and died in the crash. This last weekend was a charity hockey game for him in Falmouth, as well as a procession of the body from Logan to the Chapman Colin Gleason in Falmouth, and then the funeral was today. The wake was last night, funeral was this morning, and I filmed much of it for the family. And first of all, the kid's a hero. That split-second decision of cutting off.
Hero.
The wrong-way driver is about to hit someone else, and split second he cuts off the driver to save the innocent people's life. Hero. And then he comes in and
donates his own life.
Donates his own life to people he's never met. The father, the state trooper, the brother.
For those who are biblical,
officer.
this lay down his life for his brother or sister.
And without thinking about it, just had to do it.
Just the kind of guy he is.
The show of support from the community of Falmouth, from cars and trucks lined the Bourne Bridge all the way down 28 into the center of Falmouth. Fire departments from all over the Cape and beyond, and it was an amazing thing to watch. It's horrible that it happened, but the community outcry of support for what happened in this young man's life. So, after witnessing all of this stuff, I would say that today, especially with the local man being laid to rest, thank police officers, firefighters for putting their lives on the line. And he's not the only one. There's also Officer Hardy, State Trooper Hardy, lost his life.
Father of 7.
Yeah, pulling someone over in the breakdown lane, and he got clipped, and he
was
passed.
Killed.
So it's happening all the time. So obviously, thank a firefighter and police officer for what they do for the community. They're doing their job, but they're also have families, and they deserve to be safe out there. And on the highway, if someone is pulled over, move over.
Yeah, give them.
It's a law.
Give them space. Yeah.
The law.
They still haven't. I haven't heard anything official to the charge against the young man who went over 3 lanes to hit that car that killed that officer.
I'm assuming that he was.
Well, we don't know. We can't assume anything. You'd think they would have given us something. But anyway, I just, I am biased because, me, I happen to believe that we've got the best police and fire in the state, if not the country, man to man. And it's a small force, but that's one of the things that probably makes it so good. And to see what's happening to police officers across this country, it's really beyond the word shocking. This is terrible what's going on. And the last 2 that you've just mentioned, a police officer sitting in his vehicle writing up a charge on a violation of the highway byway, and to have someone come across 3 lanes. I'm not saying anything about that person that did it, because for all I know, could have been a medical condition. I don't know. But for whatever it is, police officers are not in a position of safety if that kind of a thing happens. And the guy in Falmouth, there's no higher calling than a person that would pull in front of a vehicle to save that person's life and give their own. There's nothing, that is biblical. There's nothing higher in the calling.
And he was, what happened in Florida with the Falmouth officer, he was actually an officer for the Tampa Bay Sheriff's Department. I don't know
I believe he has his father or his cousin or brother or something. I think
the brother's a Falmouth police officer and the Falmouth State police officer. But what he did was a heroic act. Trooper Hardy was writing up a ticket, and to get hit, like,
Yeah.
but there's no way that he could not have known that that was happening. So there has to be some kind of safety.
And there is an extension to it, what happens to their family, the members of their, you know, in the case of this gentleman that has 7 children, that's a factor.
Then the other thing I wanted to say, as far as the police go, there's been an outcry about police brutality, and that happened on such a small scale. And then the majority of police officers and firefighters are, you know, doing the job and helping out and doing heroic acts, and that cannot be, you know, taken away from the whole of the police and the fire.
People tend to do that about professions that deal with people, you know, including, and I don't know that much about it, but people who go into these homes where children are being cared for by strangers in a fashion, and sometimes they're injured, in some cases they're even killed as children. Terrible, terrible thing. But God bless the people that take those children and care for them. They have a case, and I haven't followed up the whole thing, you people probably have seen it more than I, of a family that took in a child 4 or 5 years ago, and for the last 3 years they've been fighting to keep that child, because evidently a relative of the family that it was taken from is taking that child back now, because that child is a Native American, and there's laws that are protecting, and this family is treated this child as their own for just years and years. So there's a lot of drama, Michael, going on out there that's very, very telling as to the society today, how unjust some things can be.
And I
And
don't.
then Hulk Hogan gets $100 million.
$100 million, right? After what he did and said.
So,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Also, locally, I know that last week a Raynham cruiser, there was an accident on 44.
Yes, over in my stomping grounds, I walked that down near the Quality Inn.
Yes.
That's my walk.
You walked the Quality Inn?
Walk right by the Quality Inn 5 days a week, 6 days a week, yeah.
The back behind the Quality Inn, or you walk on 44?
I walk on 44 on the sidewalk, though.
Yeah, well, yeah. But still, that could not be
And then
said.
sometimes I do come to the back when I go back 2 different ways. I have such a variety in my life. What a spoiled guy. When I walk.
Walking the Quality Inn, run over.
Walk down to Win and Win. You all know what it is. Go around, the little drive around there, and come back. Donnie does a walk of about 2 miles.
And then what?
And I buy the Globe once in a while because they forgot to deliver
Yeah.
too many days in a row.
So now, in that case, on 44, they pulled something. There was an accident. And
Yes, and a car went into our own police cruiser, I believe.
Yeah, the police cruiser was there because
Yeah.
someone had a medical accident, and then they were helping out. The cruiser was there with the lights on, and then
Right.
someone
Smashed into
a
that.
second accident occurred where
Yeah.
someone smashed into the Raynham police cruiser.
Yeah.
So even on the smaller highways, it's still
It's
dangerous.
difficult. Many years ago, a police officer was directing traffic coming out of the old dog track, and he was hit, I think, by a motorcycle, and it put him on disability. So there's a risk those ladies and gentlemen accept when they go out onto the road to direct traffic. And then the state wants to talk about non-police people doing
the
this.
flaggers doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the flaggers make about 12 cents less an hour.
Yeah.
So that's those cops, and so there's so many things going on that just doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason.
Well, I don't see how police officers they're making X salary, whatever that might be. But many of them supplement their salary with the detail work or
Most of them,
right.
yes,
So
time and a half,
taking that away from the
guaranteed
police
4
officers.
hours.
Yeah, but taking that detail
Yeah.
work away to give it to someone else who makes a quarter less an hour, whatever it might be, doesn't make
And
sense.
I don't care what they say about this state. It's different, Mass, and they've done the numbers on this, and the other than police really don't make that much more. And the police are on call, by the way. If there's an emergency that happens, they can answer that call. So definitely, police should get that. Michael, we could go into this for a whole series in anti-union thinking that's going on in the society today. It's really kind of sad.
And then let me ask you this question.
Get me another subject now. We've.
This morning in Boston, are you familiar with, there was a
I'm
shooting?
familiar with Boston.
Familiar with Boston. There was a shooting last night in Boston. They're saying, this goes back to Brussels attacks of the other day. Now people are on edge.
Brussels was attacked, yeah, two days ago.
2 days
really.
ago now,
Yeah.
and then a Mormon missionary in Boston survived. Okay, so you want to talk about what happened in Brussels just briefly?
Sure, Brussels. Here's the thing about Europe, where they differ from us. Europe is, I'm telling you a thing, they say, we know that, why you're saying it. Well, I'll get to it. Europe is made up of different nationalities. Italy has Italians. The France has the French people, Germany. So they're not like us in that fashion because we're everything. When I grew up, there was a Greek family to my left. There was an Irish family to my right. There was a French family across the street. We're like the United Nations, the United States of America. And so, but these countries in Europe aren't like that. They are one single nationality. So they're like a tribe, if you will. And so when people come from other countries to stay there in large numbers, they set into, I'm going to give it a word now, don't get upset about the word, but it has a meaning in a way. There is ghetto. An area in that city is set up for those people where they can live there. And they therefore cluster, and therefore they are small groups of people, and they're okay until all of a sudden they're terrorists, they're afraid. And so how are they going to straighten out? Everybody's upset with Belgium that they don't have proper security service and all. Yes, you can get upset about it. But remember now, they don't have the situation you have, and you don't have the situation they have. It's different. And so those people in that neighborhood now, I'm going to say 95 or more are fine. They go about their business. They go to work during the day. They have their families. They're just good people. And then there's these few people come in that go, and this is where intelligence is failing. Large numbers are going down to be trained in foreign countries, and then they come back. Well, if there's a failure, it's a failure in not policing the ones coming back properly. Now, what should you do? That's for them to decide. But something should be done because now they're getting a wake-up call. And suddenly, because they arrested a couple of people, those bad guys down there are now sending messages. Let's give them a little something to remember by. And since the King Philip War, a little bit in the Civil War, we've never had what we call civilians involved in wars. And now suddenly there are civilians involved in war. And this is why we're upset. We, meaning the whole world, is upset that civilian people can't go and get on an airplane or on a train and means of transportation and relax, sit back and relax and enjoy, where someone's trying to give them their life is on the line.
So let me ask this question: they have video footage now of the Brussels attack, and there appears to be 3 men.
Yeah, two brothers.
Yeah.
And they both were self-explode suicide. Imagine if you had their mother and father. 2 of them. Well, they didn't have vests. They claim they had luggage.
Oh,
they showed them pushing.
But
suicide. They were on a suicide mission, and one at the plane station, and one at the train, and there was a third guy which they may have captured now.
The third guy is still at large, or has been captured.
1 or 2, yeah.
This seems to happen at every terrorist attack in the recent memory. There's a group of terrorists that are going to cause an explosion. And one of them, this happened in France too, one of them doesn't go through with it and leaves.
Well, that's the fellow they arrested. He didn't go through with it. the incident was in France,
Well, yeah.
he changed his mind. Now, one of two things happened: either his bomb didn't ignite and he threw it in the barrel, or he said, I'm not gonna, I don't need to go to the the next world. I think I'll stay around a while, and he threw it into a barrel. So that's
Yeah.
where that is at
And
this
also,
time.
so like they get there, they're ready to do it, and then
Yeah.
the last moment, one of the men say, this isn't a good idea.
Suicide, as requested by a nation, is really above and beyond logic. Every country's done it, by the way. I mean, it's hard to find a nation that hasn't done it. We had Gary Powers, which there was a movie. Somebody was up for the Academy Award for it, I believe, of a pilot that was flying over Russian territory and his plane was shot down. Gary Powers, I believe his name was. He was supposed to take a pill. He's an American pilot, but he was told if you get shot down, they're not going to interview you, right?
Yeah.
And they gave him the pill. So yes, people have given up their own life from just about every nation. But to tell you the truth, I think it goes too far to have these people do it. But in the war we're in now, they're doing it in multitude of nations. Those three guys walking down, two of them are about to blow themselves up.
Well, yeah, and
But they're not suicide by virtue of depression. There's suicide that people
Yes.
do. As a matter of fact,
is a
what do we
job.
have, 20 or 22 veterans per day committing suicide in this country?
22,
So,
yep.
so that's depression. But this isn't depression. These are people who are just walking down the street and they happen to have a bomb and they're told this is your last day on the planet.
and moments before they're
Congratulations
having
to
a
you.
coffee and they're acting like everything's fine.
And it is fine.
Yeah.
The world is not the world of years gone by, is it, Michael? And it isn't like you or I to complain. We're the last to complain.
No, we don't complain. We're just pointing out stuff.
Occasionally I might whine a little bit, but that's because I maybe have a head cold.
And then, all right, let's jump into something. We got 12 minutes left. Let's talk into
Good deal.
yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, let me ask you this question.
Is that a song?
This will be a good way to go from one to another. The
We know
the
next time.
terrorist attacks. The segue. Terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
These terrorist attacks, in my opinion, will help Donald Trump's rating. He will get a bump because
You knew. You out there said, we knew they were going to talk about the president.
but after
and we are.
after it
So
happened,
there.
after it
Put that in
happened,
your pipe and smoke it.
Donald Trump's son said, "My father told us what happened."
Yeah.
On the flip side, Hillary said she still wants to allow these refugees to come in, etc.
Well, the thing about it is, when someone is 7 days a week plotting these things, it isn't up to Donald Trump or Donald Trump's son to say it's going to happen. It's going to happen because they're 7 days a week planning it. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. But remember about Donald Trump now. Watch his campaign. This thing, there will be books written in the future. Whether he makes it to the presidency or not, there'll be books written about this. Donald Trump is a good businessman who got the bug to be political, and now he's in the middle of it, and things seem to be happening for Donald Trump. But when he talks about torture, people, this is the same guy when it was turned for Donald Trump to go and face an enemy. Oh, well, maybe I'll be deferred for the good of the country. And maybe twice, 3, 4 times deferred for the good of the country. Now he's out of deferment and he has to go, did I tell you about my foot? I have a very bad foot. And so he got deferred by virtue of his foot. This is the same guy who says, well, if you capture them, waterboard them, and more. Well, let me be realistic about it. With a guy that takes 4 deferments, remember now, in World War II, John Kennedy lied about his health to get in the service. Many people lied about their age and everything else to get in and to get involved, to fight for their country. This is what people did in those days. And this guy here, who pulled every trick in the book not to serve his country, is now telling you what he wants you to do to someone else. Well, let me give you a military explanation of this, if I may. If Donald Trump were captured and they would have threatened to waterboard him, are you going to be surprised if suddenly...
He can't get his hair wet.
No. Well, I mean, have you called his butler? Does his butler know that his suit is wrinkled now? And I mean, I'm sorry, those people, you're fans of Donald Trump, but there's a little bit of the Music Man that's going on here. The slide trombones have not arrived yet. I will grant you that. But if you think about it, in my world, it's a joke. But then again, wait a minute, it's very serious. He could end up sitting in the White House and being able to press a button. And you, who are as logical as the day is long, are thinking about giving him that option one way or the other. And I'll give you one quick one on his son. Be very careful on this one, please. His son got in the mail an envelope, and he opened it up, and there was talcum powder.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, powder. And they say, oh, yeah, it was nothing. Well, that the note said, that's your warning. Next time, it won't be powder. And now, logic says that that's not going to happen again, or does it? Because let me think, was there a candidate who said, if you've got an enemy, take out their family? Oh, wait, that was Donald Trump who said that. He said, take out their family. And what happened to Donald's son? He got an envelope. Use the brains.
I'm looking up.
Think about it. Think about it.
What did Donald, we don't have much time left. What did Donald Trump say about Ted Cruz's wife?
I haven't heard that one
Okay, I
yet.
gotta look it up.
Whatever it was, evidently, now Cruz feels he's obliged to say something about Donald's wife. Well, I'm gonna give you a pitch for Donald, those of you who say I never say anything nice. Some people can say things and get away with it. Donald Trump. Now, if Cruz thinks he can do what Donald Trump does, I'm going to give him the name because you're going to happily help me. Try that 4 times in a row.
Let's go. What's the name?
Of the guy that tried to be like Donald Trump. Where is he now? He's in Florida thinking, what am I going to do next month? I'm unemployed. I'm not running for re-election.
Oh, Marco Rubio?
Marco Rubio decided he would talk a Donald Trump talk. Old timers, you're going to nod when I tell you this one. Frank Sinatra could have affairs with half of Hollywood, and it's okay. Eddie Fisher had an affair with one young lady. His whole career was over. At the time, with a guy named George Gobel or something like that, he had a television show that was one of the top-ranked television shows. He had hits. He was considered the modern Al Jolson. He had a beautiful voice, Eddie Fisher. But he was married to Debbie Reynolds, who was the girl next door, and he had an affair with a girl named Elizabeth Taylor, who had recently been widowed by Eddie Fisher's best friend. So Elizabeth's former husband, who died, was Eddie Fisher's best friend, and so Fisher and Elizabeth tied up, and that was the end of him. Now, why am I telling you that? With 5.5 minutes to go, I'll tell you why. Because there are people who people will accept that sort of things from, and that's a compliment, I suppose, to Donald. What we say, his marketing skills. And yet there are people that can't. And when somebody tries to imitate him or take him on at his, well, they're not going to accept it.
So, from what I understand here is that Donald Trump just said...
Oh, okay, you're going to get
got it. Yeah, that's what I got it now. That's what I was doing. Got it.
So, get out your pen.
Donald Trump, via the internet,
Yeah.
tweeted, hey, Ted Cruz, So he said, Ted Cruz just used a picture of Melina from a GQ shot in his ad. So Ted Cruz used a picture of Donald Trump's wife in one of his ads.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it all started.
Oh, so that, okay.
So Ted Cruz started by, I don't know what the ad is, but he took that. But then Donald Trump said, be careful, Ted, or I will spill the beans on your wife.
Oh.
So there's...
Now, you see...
but I'm
do you
wondering,
see
where
what
are the
I'm
beans?
saying? Who could, well, what's the implication? What's de facto what he's implying? There's something out there that's...
So what basically Ted Cruz used a published picture of Trump's wife in one of his ads. I don't know what the purpose is, but it was a published pictorial of the wife.
Okay.
And now Trump is saying he's going to tell secrets about Cruz's wife.
I'm gonna tell you, because I know you out there can keep a secret. I'm gonna tell you that Donald Trump has actually got to a point where he took the, I call them the born-agains, the very conservative religious people, and he read the Bible, and anyway, it was obvious he had never seen the book before in his life. I'm sure he has. He reads it all the time. But he couldn't pronounce any of the words. He was having a terrible time with it. Well, what's he saying to the Bible Belt people? I'm not one of you. Well, all these guys that are running, though, are conservatives who are Bible readers. They can quote you verses and all that. Trump basically let them know he had no knowledge of it whatsoever. Michael, they voted for him anyway. Imagine that. But let me tell you the but. And I think it may be true. He took on George Romney, who is a Mormon.
Yep.
Am I correct so far?
Yes.
And he said, I can't believe that. I like some of my best friends are Mormons. You know where that phrase comes from, some of my best friends. My best friends, some of my friends, Mormons, they're wonderful people. But I can't believe that he's a Mormon. And he went on and he ripped into him because that's what he does. It's kind
And
of
he did not do well in Utah.
Well, let me explain to you. Check plus, an old school teacher, there's a very high mark. Check plus for you, Mormons, because what you did was tell him there is a limit. Now, what is the limit? George Romney is an elder. Now, when I say he's not just a Mormon, I'm not trying to... The Mormon is a very highly respected religious group of people who bond very closely together. But they have a various echelons of hierarchy. And Trump didn't care because he doesn't have to care. Hey, didn't he put a veteran that was a prisoner of war down? If you can get away with that, can't you get away with anything? Do you realize what you're doing when you take these things from this guy? And he said about Romney that Romney was a liar, and Romney is an elder in the Mormon, meaning he is a teacher. He is a high elder person to go to for counseling. And so you didn't take on little McDougal, who is a Mormon, who's just a regular everyday Mormon walking down. No. You took on a man that is highly respected in the Mormon religion. You went too far. And I said, well, he did it with the born-agains. Maybe he can do it with the Mormons. But how did he do with the Mormons?
He did not do well.
We don't know if it was the Mormons, but I'm going to bet you, I think the Mormons went ahead and did it. Done. Mormons 5.
But now your guy, we have like 10 seconds left. Your guy is still kicking around, Kasich.
And we'll get into that the next time, because I will tell you why, as a Democrat, I am requesting the Republican not to vote for Kasich. Get him off. Tell him to withdraw.
That's it. Have a nice night, everyone. Thank you for watching the show.
See, now Matt